Attention, black fighters. Axeman is here to protect your teeth from the evil effects of black cavities. With fluoride, his secret weapon, Axeman penetrates plaque, strengthens teeth against cavities like no ordinary mouthwash. Protect your teeth with Axe Fluoride rinse. Plaque cavities. Game over.
Look, your little girl's getting grown-up teeth.
Hi, Daddy, guess what? We did mine.
You can help guard those teeth against cavities with AIM. AIM's fluoride gel acts two ways to give her teeth all the fluoride they can get from a toothpaste. First, AIM's unique formula gets fluoride to teeth quickly. Then AIM's great taste keeps her brushing, so teeth get fluoride longer. You're doing your best to help keep her teeth healthy and permanent with AIM, because we're aiming for 0 cavities.
There I was, all smiles and no teeth. Calcium in my milk helped me develop strong teeth, and Colgate helped keep them strong with its unique calcium and fluoride formula to help strengthen my teeth against decay. Colgate with calcium and fluoride to help keep teeth strong.
Colgate, the world's biggest smile.
As a dentist, I've seen the damaging effects of tooth decay in thousands of patients, young and old. That's why I support water fluoridation. It can reduce tooth decay by 40%. It's proven safe, and there's no credible evidence it causes ill health. That's why it's endorsed by the World Health Organization, and why Townsville and other parts of Australia have been enjoying the benefits for years. It's a fact. Water fluoridation gives you healthier teeth, and that's worth smiling about.
The first use of fluoridated drinking water was in Nazi prison camps in Germany. Thanks to the Illuminati's notorious pharmaceutical giant known as IG Farben, this was a company that ran camps like Auschwitz and still exists as its constituent parts like beer. Does anyone think that the Nazis did this because they were concerned for the teeth of the inmates? This mass medication of water supplies with sodium fluoride was to sterilize the prisoners and force them into quiet submission. Charles Perkins, a chemist, wrote the following to the Lee Foundation for Nutritional Research, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, on October 2nd of 1954.
In the 1930s, Hitler and the German Nazis envisioned the world to be dominated and controlled by a Nazi philosophy of pan-Germanism. The German chemists worked out a very ingenious and far-reaching plan of mass control, which was submitted to and adopted by the German General Staff. This plan was to control the population in any given area through the mass medication of drinking water supplies. By this method they could control the population in whole areas, reduce population by water medication that would produce sterility in women, and so on. In this scheme of mass control, sodium fluoride occupied a prominent place.
Adolf Hitler believed in natural selection to extinguish the inferior race so that the superior race can inherit a perfect utopia known as the New World Order. Charles Perkins said that repeated doses of infinite amounts of fluoride will in time reduce an individual's power to resist domination by slowly poisoning a certain area of the brain, thus making him submissive to the will of those who wish to govern him. He called it a quote-unquote convenient light of lobotomy.
The real reason behind water fluoridation is not to benefit children's teeth.
If this was the real reason, when there are many ways in which it could be done that are much easier, cheaper, and far more effective, he points out. The real purpose behind water fluoridation was to reduce the resistance of the masses to domination and control and loss of liberty. Perkins said that when the Nazis under Hitler decided to go into Poland, both the German General Staff and the Russian General Staff exchanged scientific and military ideas, plans, and personnel, and a scheme of mass control through water medication was seized upon the Russian communists because it fitted ideally into their plan to quote-unquote communize the world.
I was told of this entire scheme by a German chemist who was an official of the great Bidondi chemical industries and was also prominent in the Nazi movement at the time. I say this with all the earnestness and sincerity of a scientist who has spent nearly 20 years research into the chemistry, biochemistry, physiology, and pathology of fluorine. Any person who drinks artificially fluoridated water for a period of 1 year or more will never again be the same person mentally or physically.
That is the very reason the Illuminati has been expanding the consumption of fluoride ever since, and what better way to suppress the minds of the population than through the public drinking water supplies. When we drink anything made from fluoride water, including beer and soft drinks, we are being slowly and consistently drugged. Fluoride is a byproduct of the aluminum industry, and a scam to add it to the public drinking water came from the Mellon family, who are big-time bloodline, close friends of the British royal family, and dictators of the U.S. policy through the Illuminati network. Industrial fluorides are major polluters of rivers and streams, poisoning land, fish, and animals. It was costing the aluminum industry a fortune to deal with them, but the Mellon family manipulated a situation in which this poisonous waste product became an enormous source of income and human control. In 1994, Oscar Ewing was employed by Alco at an annual salary of $750,000. Imagine what that would be today. But within the months, he left to become head of the U.S. government's Federal Security Agency and began a campaign to add sodium fluoride to the public drinking water. The Mellons now sell it for the use in drinking water and toothpaste at a 20,000% markup. Today, the United Nations continues this plot to force medicate the population with sodium fluoride for global depopulation, as stated in their eugenics plan known as Agenda 21. The World Health Organization, the Food and Drug Administration, the Center for Disease Control, American Dental Association, schools, professors, teachers, dentists, and doctors continue today to spread lies and propaganda while dumbing the students down. And children who ingest this fluoride lose 20 plus points off their IQ. Even though countless studies show that sodium fluoride is harmful and has no health benefits whatsoever, and the only intent of the creation of sodium fluoride made of toxic waste was to poison and dumb down the Jews by the Nazis. You may want to ask yourself, why are they using this industrial waste as something we ingest on a daily basis? What are their plans? Why is this being done on such a large scale? Most of all, why are we not being told the truth? In this documentary, we will answer those questions and hope to open your eyes on the real truth behind sodium fluoride and why we must not use it. We encourage you to form a protest everywhere sodium fluoride is used in public drinking water to force our elected officials to outlaw this poison. Sodium fluoride, is it natural? That's the question you want to ask. But every time you ask this question to a doctor, to a dentist, even to a school nurse, they will go and tell you, yes, sodium fluoride is not only good for you, it's not only safe, but yes, it is natural. However, sodium fluoride is not found anywhere in the earth naturally. Sodium fluoride is a composite made up of derivatives and compounds of a synthetic blend of toxic waste, preferably from aluminum waste byproducts. So, is there a natural fluoride? Yes, there is. It's called calcium fluoride. Calcium fluoride is made of natural minerals from the earth. But this is not what's put in your drinking water. This is not what's put in your toothpaste. Although the FDA and the ADA will go and tell you, yes, sodium fluoride is safe, it's good for you, and it is natural. However, it is neither of the three. Sodium fluoride has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, which we will show you here, news clips, articles and quotes from the professionals that will tell you, yes, sodium fluoride is not natural, it is not good for you, and it is not safe. And we're going to start off the news clips with national syndicated talk show host Alex Jones of Infowars.com.
Okay, up on screen for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers, you can see this screenshot from the Boston TV station. We'll put it back up on screen again. And it says sodium fluoride, danger, poison, toxic by ingestion, target organs. This is what it's targeting. Heart, kidneys, bones, central nervous system, gastrointestinal system, teeth. Do not get in eyes, do not ingest, do not inhale. Use proper respiration. A screenshot capture from the WCVB TV report reveals fluoride added to drinking water is a deadly toxin. So what's the issue here? This isn't just about fluoride. It's about mind control and propaganda. Here's a newscast where they're saying, we're so worried, you know, for the last year or so, we haven't been putting fluoride in your water because we're ordered to buy this fluoride from China, and it's something else is in it, and it's clogging all the machines. Look at all this gook. Look at all this garbage. Look at all this sludge. We need to get the fluoride to the children. We need to make sure people read it. And then they show at the water treatment plant the bags. And we saw these same bags in Austin. They wouldn't let us videotape it. I'm going to have to get like a FOIA request or order it or something, because people need to see this. So on the bag, it says deadly poison, targets the organs, absolutely devastating. And then they'll say, well, there's only 1 to 3 parts per million. Well, studies show that that causes a 10 IQ point reduction if it's drunk for just 5 years by an adolescent. And see, it builds up. Nothing, according to the toxicologist, neurologist, and scientist we've had on here, medical doctors and researchers, nothing builds up worse in the body than fluoride. It's one of the smallest particles on the periodic table. It is just absolutely tiny and deadly poison. But the whole newscast is about, oh, my gosh, there's something else in it. And after we heard about melamine in China, after we heard about lead in the toys and all these poisons in the jewelry, you know, we don't know what the Chinese are doing. Well, Austin buys its fluoride from a company in Florida, hundreds of chemicals in it. Hundreds of other deadly chemicals, not just fluoride. So I want to play this newscast for everybody out there, and I want to explain something to you. Even if you drink bottled water or filtered water, you absorb it when you breathe it in the shower or bath, and the biggest organ in the body is the skin. The skin. And this is so deadly, and it is in one particular book on World War II, a Pulitzer Prize-winning book that we have linked in this article, where the Nazis, when they were friends with Stalin, when they split up Poland together, learned of this, I.G. Farben did, from the Russians. And Stalin was putting this in their labor camp workers' water. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who spent, 6 years in a forced labor camp, wrote about this. They put in your water what the communist Russians and the Nazi Germans put in slave and death camp water supplies. Now, I have John P. Holdren, eco-science book, where he says we want to put stuff in the water supply to reduce your fertility. And what does fluoride do? It reduces fertility. It makes you passive. It attacks your bones. Let's go ahead and play the short newscast so we can analyze it. Here it is from Massachusetts.
The water in Amesbury is supposed to have fluoride in it, but Rob Damaris has been concerned for years about what's in the supply he gets from China. The residue you see here is what won't dissolve when he puts the fluoride powder in the water.
What is that?
We don't know.
You have no idea what's in there?
I don't know what it is. It's not soluble. And it doesn't appear to be sodium fluoride, so we're not quite sure what it is.
Damaris says the residue clogs his machines and makes it difficult to get a consistent mix.
For almost a year, these fluoride pumps in Amesbury have been off, and the water department says they'll stay off until they can figure out what's in the fluoride.
The Department of Public Health says more than 650,000 customers in 44 communities are getting the product in question, and only Amesbury has temporarily stopped using it.
But despite those concerns, we want to be clear. Both state and federal health officials tell Team 5 Investigates Chinese fluoride is safe. The New York company which supplies the fluoride in question says it is certified by the National Sanitation Foundation, which assures the quality of the product. And despite 1,000 complaints, the Centers for Disease Control also says it's safe, although testing continues to determine the precise composition of the residue.
They should test it to make sure that what they're putting in is safe for us to drink.
Paul Stewart lives in Newburyport and believes he has a right to know exactly what's in his water.
On the same day that I read the story about the fluoride coming from China, I also read stories about the melamine that was being contaminated in the milk products coming from China, that Abercrombie and Fitch actually pulled some of their jewelry off the shelves because it was contaminated with cadmium coming from China. And then we had another story about more lead in kids' toys coming from China.
Since 2007, most of the sodium fluoride has also been imported from China because it's the least expensive on the market.
I don't think that when it comes to something that I ingest every day, the lowest bidder is good enough.
I'd like to be able to add it in, worry-free.
For Team 5 Investigates, I'm Kelly Tuthill.
Okay. Now, that is mind control. They show the bags that say deadly poison, attacks every organ, attacks your bones, fluoride. And, of course, the federal government certifies it. They allow over 300 chemicals to be added. Most companies put 150 in. And that's the sick joke. Austin pays $1.2 million. I've shown the paperwork here on air 6 months ago when we got the tour. And the name of the company. The particular company Austin buys it from in Florida is where they mine limestone and crush it up. And in the limestone are the chemicals that they need for fertilizer. But then they have all this poison byproduct that by law you can't put in crop fertilizer. And so they take out the poison and put it in your water. Here's something people will get and understand. Go to Home Depot. And if you buy fertilizer for food plants, tomato plants or whatever, it will not have all the toxic chemicals in it. But if it's lawn fertilizer, it will say, do not use in agriculture, poison. But that runs off into our water and into our water table. And it's the same crud. And so they can't get rid of it, and it brain damages us, and they'd have to store it or get rid of it. And so they say, okay, we'll just feed this to the American people. We will force medicate you. Now, even if it was good for your teeth, which the American Dental Association 5 years ago had to admit, no, that's not true. Fractures the teeth, causes dental fluorosis. My dad's a dentist. I had to bring him the documents the last decade. He now agrees with me. He was never a bad guy. He just believed the system. Folks, you've got to look at this for yourself. You've got to find out what this is doing to you and your family. Don't you love your children? But let's say it was even good for us. Why is it forced medication? That is illegal on every front. It is illegal to put something in the water supply that they say is good for you and is a medication. But let's say it was good for your teeth, which it isn't. That's like saying, well, I want to put sunscreen on so I don't get too much sun, so I'm going to drink a big glass of sunscreen. It's supposedly for your teeth. Why don't you just brush your teeth? Oh, what's it say on the back of the toothpaste package? Look for yourself. It says, if you ingest more than a pea-size of this, call poison control immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, long before I knew about fluoride being deadly, when I was a little kid, I'd get a fluoride treatment or something, I'd get sick for days, with headaches. They're poisoning all of us.
A new effort is being launched today to reverse our reliance on a chemical that's supposed to improve our health, not jeopardize it.
We're talking about fluoride, and of course it's something all of us are exposed to every day. iTeam's Roberta Baskin is here with the details on this. Roberta.
Well, if public health officials knew then what they know now, would we have fluoride? Would it be added to our drinking water? Well, today a coalition of scientists, dentists, and doctors are taking action to stop fluoridation until it is proven safe. For decades, Americans associated fluoride with good dental hygiene, which is why it's still added to most public water supplies, including many in the Washington area. The American Dental Association calls fluoridation one of the best public health ideas ever.
Absolutely, fluoride is safe.
It's effective. It has reduced the decay rate in the population by about 20 to 40% over the last 60 years.
But today, 600 health professionals and scientists, including Dr. Arvid Carlson, a Nobel laureate of medicine, are calling on Congress to ban the use of fluoride immediately. Among the petitioners, Bob Carton, a former Environmental Protection Agency scientist. He says fluoridating water was a mistake from the beginning.
It was a foolish thing to do years ago. They didn't have enough information. They hadn't really been tested.
In fact, a 2005 Centers for Disease Control study found too much fluoride has caused irreversibly discolored teeth in 1 out of 3 children. And a major report by the National Academy of Sciences says toxic levels can lead to severe, permanent pitting of the enamel in children. Fluoride can also build up in the bones to cause pain, stiff joints, and skeletal abnormalities when they get older.
It's a cumulative poison. It just gradually builds up and it gradually causes harm.
But the EPA isn't about to make any quick decisions about the Academy's finding that toxic levels of fluoride must be drastically lowered.
We take their recommendations very seriously. We also have a commitment to get additional information and validate it and work with other public health authorities.
Last November, concerns over excess fluoride prompted the American Dental Association to warn parents not to mix baby formula with tap water during an infant's first 12 months.
So given an infant's small weight, certainly we've put recommendations out there for mothers.
And for years, the Food and Drug Administration has required warning labels to keep toothpaste out of the reach of children under 6, and if swallowed, to get medical help or contact a poison control center right away. In 2005, more than 22,000 people did.
Too much of any good thing can be a bad thing.
Still, the American Dental Association insists fluoride is crucial for preventing tooth decay.
We prevent a lot of suffering and pain that's totally unnecessary and preventable, both in adults and children.
The EPA, the FDA, CDC, ADA, and other combinations of the alphabet have argued the safety of fluoride for years. Maybe it is time to get all those different views together at a congressional hearing and straighten out all the mixed signals that the public is getting. Meanwhile, fluoride remains.
But it seems like what they've got to do first is figure out exactly what the safe level is, because if too much is the problem, what is the right amount?
There's no answer to that, and what amount are you getting? Because what dose are you getting? It depends on your body weight and how much water you drink and other things.
Right. Okay. Very interesting.
Most of us grew up with the idea that more fluoride meant better teeth. And health officials believe that putting fluoride in water is one of the top 10 public health accomplishments of the last century. But new studies now say that too much fluoride is damaging the teeth of more than 1 in 3 teens. So for the first time in nearly 50 years, the federal government is reversing course and recommending less fluoride in water. Here's Ron Claiborne.
Ever since the 1940s, fluoride has been artificially added to drinking water to help fight tooth decay. It's been credited with reducing cavities by up to 50%. But even then, there were critics who complained about injecting a chemical into drinking water, a view satirized in the 1960s movie Dr. Strangelove.
Do you realize that fluoridation is the most monstrously conceived and dangerous communist plot we have ever had to face?
But today, the federal government called for reducing the amount of fluoride in water to protect children from a tooth disease called fluorosis, which stains and even erodes teeth. It affects as many as 1/3 of American children.
Making this adjustment now will promote public health, improve oral health, and reduce rates of fluorosis.
There's a twinkle in your eye when there's fluoride for their teeth.
For years, fluoride has been added to toothpaste and is in other products we eat and drink. The government says Americans are now ingesting too much fluoride. Its new recommendation, no more than 0.7 milligrams of fluoride for every liter of drinking water, down from 1.2 milligrams a liter. Cities such as New York, Chicago, and Minneapolis, and many others whose water has higher amounts of fluoride would have to reduce them to meet the new target. Dr. Griffin Cole of Austin, Texas, says he has treated some severe cases of fluorosis in children.
The teeth become brittle, become weak, and you have to treat them with either crowns or new facings, and it can be very costly.
Critics say fluoride can cause greater damage than just brittle teeth. Even the National Research Council, whose 2006 report was cited today by the EPA, linked it to bone damage and increased risk of fractures. The government says there's no evidence fluoride causes serious illness. The only concern for now, the potentially serious damage to children's teeth. And the president of the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry says parents need to be especially vigilant about all the ways that children can ingest fluoride, including swallowing toothpaste. His advice, give them only a pea-sized amount on the toothbrush to make it much less likely they will end up eating a big glob of toothpaste with fluoride on it.
So
George.
don't overdo that rinse either.
And
It's
don't
like the
overdo
taste
the
of
rinse.
that. Okay, Ron, thanks.
Fluoride in your drinking water. It has dramatically decreased tooth decay, but could it be too much of a good thing?
Today, for the first time in nearly 50 years, the government announced plans to lower the recommended levels of fluoride. KXAN's Aaron Cargile is live with what this means for the water that you drink every day. Aaron?
Good evening, Leslie and Robert. Well, the drinking water in most communities contains fluoride, but the amount in just one glass of tap water is so microscopic you can't even see it or even measure it, and it is different depending on where you live.
Even during a relaxing day at the park, Amanda Mandy has the health of her 3 children on her mind.
I think every mom I talk to is always concerned about whatever new thing is being looked into.
Friday, it was a major announcement from the federal government about fluoride. They plan on lowering the recommended amount in drinking water after a rise in cases of fluorosis among kids ages 12 to 15. A recent study found 2 out of every 5 adolescents face the tooth streaking or spottiness because of too much.
And I think this is a good thing. It shows that CDC, Health and Human Services, and EPA are continuing to look at all the data.
The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services wants the minimum to be the new maximum, 0.7 milligrams per liter. Good news for Austin.
We're already at the lower levels of that. So that's not going to be a big movement for us when lower levels do come out.
It's added to the city's drinking water underground at the treatment plant. Georgetown keeps their average fluoride level at 0.7 as well. Pflugerville's even lower level, 0.4, is all natural. And San Marcos is at 0.8. Marble Falls is the lowest at 0.2. The government still recognizes fluoridation as one of the greatest public health achievements.
It has greatly reduced, again, the incidence and severity of tooth decay in the last several decades.
As for the Mandy family, until their pediatrician tells them otherwise, they'll stick to Austin's drinking water at home.
And the news today also somewhat of a victory for local groups who have strongly opposed adding fluoride to drinking water altogether. A final recommendation from the federal government should come down this spring. Reporting live, Aaron Cargile, KXAN. Austin
We have been
News.
fluoridating our water in Tennessee for more than 50 years, but never before has there been more talk than that fluoridating our water might be a bad idea and a health risk. Tonight, Dennis Ferrier has the latest developments on a story that impacts all of us.
Joey Hensley is a respected physician. He's also a Tennessee state lawmaker. He is now combining those two professions to make a very strong point.
We've been doing it 50 years, but just because we've been doing something 50 years doesn't necessarily mean that it's right.
Hensley's talking about something most of us don't even think about, fluoridating water. After much research, the doctor has sent out a letter to every water district in Tennessee asking them to stop fluoridating water. The evidence, he says, fluoride works better when you rub it on your teeth, not when you drink it. That fluoridation is medication added to water without your permission, and that's wrong. But most of all, because the National Research Council believes young children are getting 3 to 4 times the dose of fluoride as adults. And now the American Dental Association is telling mothers not to make baby formula with fluoridated water because of fear of dental fluorosis.
And that's big news, and that really hasn't been publicized very much.
Health researcher Dan Stockin believes that this ADA warning about baby formula and fluoride is just the beginning.
The ramifications of this are so huge. I'm sure that the state health department hasn't quite figured it out yet. Because, see, once the door cracks, and it is now for what it does to teeth, the next group, one of the next groups that's going to start raising their hands and saying, what about us, is people who are on dialysis and people who have borderline kidney damage and impairment.
Then there's all the people that have hypothyroidism.
Scientists like Nobel Prize winner Arvid Carlson and a large group of EPA scientists have called for the banning of fluoride because we don't know how much we're ingesting, so we don't know if we're being poisoned.
There are so many potential legal things about to happen that as a taxpayer, I think it would be really, really smart for the water districts and the Metro Nashville. Look, just if people want fluoride, let them use fluoridated toothpaste and spit it out. But don't go poisoning everyone. Don't continue this after everyone knows all this information now, just because it's not convenient.
Dr. Hensley has already had one response. Spring City in Ray County is going to stop fluoridating its water, and it is that simple. I mean, there's no law. It's all voluntary, Dan, so anyone can turn on the fluoride or turn it off.
Dennis, let's make sure we're clear on this. Fluoride, it is in tea, it's in coffee, it's in water, it's in bread, it's in toothpaste, but it's actually a poison, right?
It sure is, and here's the quickest evidence. Go to your bathroom and pick up your toothpaste, and you'll see a warning that if a child swallows more than a pea-sized amount of toothpaste, call poison control.
Wow. Dennis Ferrier, thanks.
Well, there's growing controversy about something many of us swallow every day. Fluoride added to our drinking water. While no one denies it can prevent cavities with topical application, a growing number of cities and countries have decided that ingesting unknown quantities of fluoride is a bad idea. And here in Tennessee, our own top health risk scientist is asking the governor to stop adding fluoride to the water. Dennis Ferrier has our story.
Dr. Kathy Thiessen makes a living assessing health risks. She's worked for the CDC, the EPA, and many other big agencies worried about big health issues. Now Dr. Thiessen is asking Governor Phil Bredesen to stop fluoridating water in the entire state of Tennessee.
There's a considerable amount of information that was not available in the 1940s and 1950s when fluoridation was instituted. What I would like to see is the health professionals themselves that to actually take a look at the toxicology papers, the scientific papers, and not to simply rely on what they've been told forever and ever.
Dr. Thiessen joins Tennessee lawmaker and medical doctor Joey Hensley as the most prominent Tennessee voices against fluoride. Chris White is not a scientist, he's a musician with the band Law. His other passion is removing fluoride from Gallatin's water supply. His MySpace page, Fluoride versus Gallatin, has nearly 400 friends in its first week.
First of all, this is something that people don't know about, and it's such an open and shut case that to educate them has already fired them up because they just simply can't believe this is happening. And they have every right in the world to be outraged at this. And outrage is a correct word. And now that they're claiming that that it's ineffective other than topically, i.e. brushing teeth where you spit it out, and they're putting it in our water to go through every cell in your body on its way to your tooth enamel. It's just backwards.
All parties point to the American Dental Association recommending that mothers stop using fluoridated water for baby formula as an obvious sign that fluoride is obviously not for everyone.
We've now found out that fluoride can harm babies, and we also know that it's been admitted that there are other groups that can be harmed by fluoride, such as those that I just mentioned. Then how ethical is it to continue to force fluoride on people when they don't even know what they're drinking, when they haven't been told?
Now, we did attempt to reach the state dental director. Her voicemail said she was in today, but she did not return our calls, Demetria.
Dennis Ferrier. We tried to reach the governor as well to comment. He is traveling to Washington, D.C., and
a group of lawmakers in Tennessee this past week asking the state to stop promoting water fluoridation. Putting fluoride in drinking water, well, it's been controversial since the government started doing it. That was almost 50 years ago. But now even the government seems to maybe be taking a little step back, announcing plans to lower the recommended fluoride limit because it's causing a tooth condition. It's called fluorosis. So are we getting too much of a good thing? Joining us now, Dr. Gerald Curatola, a dentist and a FoxNews.com health blogger. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
And we'll call you Dr. Jerry from now on through the conversation. So is this study, is it a big surprise to dentists?
Well, it's actually it's not a big surprise to dentists at all. Dentists have been seeing this condition called fluorosis, and it's affecting, this is the amazing statistic, 41% of adolescents aged 12 to 15 have some form of fluorosis defects on their teeth. And this, ironically, makes the enamel of the teeth weaker, not stronger, as fluorosis affects hardness and makes them more prone to cavities, which fluoride was really, in the beginning, there to prevent.
So let's take a look at some pictures. We have some pictures that some of our viewers may find just a little bit disturbing, but what are we looking at?
Well, this would be considered a condition. The first picture was mild fluorosis. This is more severe fluorosis, and so you could see that the edges, the incisal edges of the teeth are decaying and defective, and it really is a condition which causes not just a cosmetic defect, but a defect to the hardness of the teeth and the health of the teeth.
I was going to ask you the next question. I mean, what are some of the other risks associated with that?
Well, you know, I like to say if this is what we can see the effects of fluoride on the outside, you know, we start to question what the effects of fluoride are inside the body. Right. So dentists have known a long time. I've been seeing just this past Friday, I saw a patient, a beautiful young woman, beautiful teeth, from Santa Maria, California. I know that grew up in a fluoridated community, and she has beautiful teeth, but these very severe white spots on the edge of her teeth. And for viewers who are interested, there is a website, spotsonmyteeth.com, if they want more information about what this fluorosis stain means and what it could be caused by. It's definitely an overexposure to fluoride, and that's the big problem.
So you mentioned that she was in a fluoridated community, so
yes.
Not all communities are fluoridated?
No, as a matter of fact, there are, throughout the United States, those that are on municipal water supplies, most of those have converted to fluoridation over the years. But right now, you know, dentists and dental researchers are really starting to take a closer look at this fluoride experiment of the last 50 years. And the research that's emerging is drawing increasing concern, which is why legislators in Tennessee and other places like Calgary are calling to end and ban fluoridation altogether.
But what if you're already in one of those communities and you already are exposed to fluoridated water? What are your options?
Well, the CDC bottled water, filtered water, but the CDC has already recommended that fluoride be removed from baby water, and Gerber was one of the companies to actually make formulas without fluoride in them. The interesting thing, again, about fluoride is, you know, it's been this sacred cow as the answer to all dental problems. You know, mainly, you know, we're going to eradicate decay. And we have fluoridated communities and non-fluoridated communities that some non-fluoridated communities that have less decay than fluoridated communities. So we really need to take a closer look at that, and some legislators are even calling for fluoride gate hearings because there's conflicting information that's coming from the CDC.
So do you need fluoride in your toothpaste?
Well, again, it really depends on how much fluoride you're being exposed to. So the really biggest problem of all of this is how do you know how much you're getting? And we used to think it was too much of a good thing, and now there are increasing numbers of dentists that are wondering if this was a good thing at all.
Okay, well, the jury is still out then. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Jerry, joining us to talk about fluorosis.
Good stuff.
Who knew?
Is there such a thing as non-fluoridated toothpaste? I
Yes,
never,
there is.
Really?
Yes. There is.
Because every time I go to the grocery store, fluoride, fluoride.
Well, they have the baking soda.
Oh, you did?
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's great.
Actually, I use a homeopathic form of fluoride that uses fluoride minerals without the toxicity of the chemical fluoride.
Good stuff.
Coming up, the unmasking of bottled waters. Consumers react to word that many of their pricey favorites come straight from the tap. US have access to some of the cleanest tap water in the world. Nevertheless, many people have come to depend on bottled water, so much so it's become a multi-billion-dollar industry. Sure, it's convenient, but many also believe they're paying for water from naturally pure sources. As Rob Marciano reports, that's often not the case.
Don't let that scenic logo fool you. This water is not bottled from a mountain stream. Now PepsiCo plans to spell it out for consumers, adding the words public water source to the label of its Aquafina brand. And in case you didn't know, Aquafina is actually just purified tap water.
That would make me never want to buy Aquafina again, knowing that it was bottled public water, just tap water in a bottle. That's, what am I paying for?
Wow.
How does that make you feel?
Like I've been bamboozled and hoodwinked all this time.
In a statement on Friday, PepsiCo said, quote, "If this helps clarify the fact that water originates from public sources, then it's a reasonable thing to do." Coca-Cola's Dasani does the same thing, purifies and bottles public drinking water. One environmental group found at least 25% of bottled water is actually just tap water. Sometimes purified, sometimes not.
We are now exposing an underbelly truth, that is, a big percentage of bottled water in this country is tap water.
San Francisco's mayor banned city workers from buying bottled water, citing environmental concerns and saving the city $500,000 a year. And let's face it, it's expensive. Brands like Fiji can cost $8 a bottle or more at high-end hotels. Ironic that droughts have led to water shortages on the island that exports it. In total, Americans snapped up $11 billion worth of bottled water last year, all in a country that has some of the cleanest public water in the world.
Spring water, artesian well water, purified tap water. Not too long ago, it would have seemed a little wacky to sell bottled water, but now it's become part of our culture. And sales of these bottles rank second only to carbonated soft drinks. So in this saturated market, it's increasingly important for you to know exactly what you're paying for.
Hello, I'm Dr. Bill Osmondson. I'm a general and cosmetic dentist and have been a dentist for 30 years. Before that, I received a master's in public health in nutrition and health education. For the first 25 years of practice, I promoted water fluoridation aggressively. I thought I saw the benefits. It wasn't until I actually looked at the information myself and sat down and looked at the different government agencies and the different reports and the studies that I began to realize that fluoridation was a problem. One of the first things I did is I looked at my tube of toothpaste. It says drug facts. I know it's a drug. If I were to give it to you, it'd have to be a prescription. That's for swallowing. When it comes to toothpaste, it also says don't swallow. And if you do swallow, contact a poison control center. Well, the amount of fluoride that they're talking about is a pea-sized amount of fluoride. You probably don't see that in advertisements, a pea-sized amount of fluorides. Usually when I see an advertisement, it looks more like a Dairy Queen ice cream cone. That amount is a 1/4 milligram of fluoride. Well, that's the same amount of fluoride as what we find in 8 ounces of water. 1/4 milligram of fluoride, 1/4 milligram of fluoride. Don't swallow. If you do, call the Poison Control Center. One of the things that concerns me is water fluoridation for infants. The American Dental Association and Center for Disease Control recommend that infants not receive water for drinking nor for making their formula. It's 250 times more concentrated in fluoride than mother's milk. We shouldn't fluoridate water and harm our most vulnerable. The next thing I looked at was dental fluorosis. These are the white and brown spots on the teeth. The only thing that causes dental fluorosis is fluoride. Too much fluoride ingested, usually during the developing years, birth to about 8 years of age. When I see people coming in to have treatment for dental fluorosis, I mention to them that they have had too much fluoride. And this is an indication that the rest of their body has probably had too much fluoride also, their bones and in the rest of their organs. Damage from dental fluorosis is not disputed. Everyone agrees that too much fluoride can cause dental fluorosis. About 1/3 of children are now experiencing fluorosis, according to the CDC. The next thing I wanted to look at was benefits. What are the benefits of it? I've heard reports of 20 to 40%, 60%, 80% tooth reduction with water fluoridation. So what is the benefit of water fluoridation? And I had a close look at several factors. One, comparing different countries of the world, we can see that no matter what we do on fluoridation, whether the country fluoridates or no fluoride at all, decay is reduced the same amount in all countries. We can compare states in the United States. And we can see on a graph that as they're plotted in order of increased amount of fluoridation in the state, fluoridation doesn't make any difference. We have the same amount of good health in the states regardless of their fluoridation. Same thing for counties and other locations. That was disturbing to me. If there's no benefit, well, why are we fluoridating? I have two requests for you. One is to talk to your dentist and your healthcare provider about fluoridation. Ask them if they've seen the National Academy of Science report on fluoridation. Give them information that they may not have on water fluoridation and excess fluoride exposure. That helped me when my patients casually, calmly, quietly said, have a look at this. This doctor, this dentist is concerned about water fluoridation. What do you think? None of us professionals want to harm our patients. Our whole lives are given to improving the health of people, not harming them. And so for those of you who are healthcare professionals, I'd highly urge you to look once again at the science on fluoridation. Science doesn't need to be scary. It's just information. Spend a little bit of time looking at it on both sides of the issues. Don't just look at one side filtered. Look at both sides and weigh it for yourself. The other thing is to sign an online petition with me at fluoridealert.org. The online petition requests Congress to have hearings on fluoridation. It also recommends that we no longer fluoridate our water. Thank you.
Fluoride is a toxic industrial waste product from the phosphate fertilizer industry that's added to most municipal water supplies in the United States. Unfortunately, fluoride kills most of our beneficial enzymes, attacks the hypothalamus gland in the brain, inhibits proper functioning of the thyroid gland, can cause weakening of the bones, and can cause dental fluorosis in children, which is an irreversible mineralization disorder of the teeth. Sodium fluoride is also a central nervous system toxin that can diminish IQ, even in small doses. Although we're told that fluoride is added to our water supply to prevent cavities, numerous large-scale studies have shown no difference in tooth decay between fluoridated and non-fluoridated communities. If you'd like to keep this poison out of your body and your children's bodies, install a high-quality water filter in your home. If you'd like to learn more about why to filter your tap water, read this informative book, The Beginner's Guide to Natural Living.
And there you have it, mainstream media interviewing professionals exposing the dangers of sodium fluoride. But if you're still not convinced yet, we have scores of news articles which we're about to show you, first being led off by, once again, Alex Jones of Infowars.com.
We're live, ladies and gentlemen, simulcasting at prisonplanet.tv. Coming up later in the hour, we're going to have Rob Dew, who knew Joe Stack. He played in some bands with him. So did Joe Ely and many others in Austin. In other news, look at this ABC News of Australia, one of their big national TV networks, the Australian Broadcasting System. ABC News, give folks a document cam shot. Kangaroos poisoned by fluoride. The Environmental Protection Authority says fluoride from Alcoa's aluminum smelter at Portland is making kangaroos sick. Well, why not just put it in the water supply? Oh, that's what you do. It's the byproduct from the purification process of aluminum manufacturing and the byproduct of fertilizer manufacturing, and you just dump it in our water. That and over 150 chemicals on average. Some systems get over 300. The EPA admits this, but, oh, the public just laughs about it. Ha, ha, ha. Dr. Strangelove, Stanley Kubrick made a joke about that. Well, here it is. And all over the country, it's been known for decades and decades that a lot of farms and ranches that butt up on towns and cities that get municipal water for their cows and horses stop giving it to them and have to dig wells because cows and horses are so susceptible. And see, fluoride builds up. It doesn't leave the body. It sticks. It goes to your organs and bones, and it ends up killing the horses and cows. You can go to YouTube and just type in horses and cows sick from fluoride, pigs sick from fluoride, chickens sick from, and you'll see local newscasts where they go, yeah, we've been giving them fluoride for 6 months in the water, and they're all dying. Their hair falls out. They get bone fractures. They get cancer. This is what we drink. And you say, well, I don't drink fluoridated water. I drink purified water. When you take a bath or shower, you absorb through your skin. It's so diabolical that all of this is going on.
This article was posted on New York on January 19th of 2007 from fluoridealert.org, warning about the CDC warns against giving babies fluoridated tainted drinking water. Without fanfare, public announcement, the Centers for Disease Control, known as the CDC, posted a new fluoride caution on their website, avoiding mixing fluoridated water into concentrated infant formula to prevent discoloring babies' new teeth. And fluoride is added to 2/3 of the public's water supplies based on a disproved theory that fluoride ingestion prevents cavities. Where is the media alert? And it's disturbing that WIC, the program WIC, still encourages mothers to mix formula with fluoridated water. In this article, Harvard professor probed in fluoride flap. From Boston, Harvard University is investigating an allegation that a dentistry professor downplayed research showing an increased risk of bone cancer for boys who drink fluoridated tap water. And Douglas reported from 1992 to 1999, his study found that the odds of having osteochroma after drinking fluoridated water was not statistically different from those who drink non-fluoridated water. But Elsa Basson, a doctoral student who Douglas supervised, reported in her 2001 thesis that boys who drink fluoridated water appear to have an increased risk of developing the bone cancer. Her findings were based on some of the same people used in Douglas's study. Basson had found a strong link between fluoride levels in tap water and an increased osteochroma risk for boys. Will reported on January 7th of 2011, titled "Fluoride Levels in Drinking Water Lowered Due to Health Risk." Government officials announced that they will lower the levels of fluoride added to the public drinking water, openly announcing artificially fluoridated water is a health issue. The Minnesota Department of Health requires all municipalities to add sodium fluoride, a man-made product, to their water supplies. For over 60 years, the recommended level of fluoride was 1.2 parts per million. Now researchers believe this level may pose a risk to consumers' health and have lowered the recommended level to 0.7 parts per million, or almost half the previous level. Here's the Washington Times from January 29th of 2001 reporting that the new studies suggest that the use of untested silico fluoride in water systems may have links to antisocial behavior in youths, and there's plenty more in the water system too. And the article also admits how there's arsenic among other toxins in our drinking water. July 30th of 2002, the BBC News reported ban proposed on fluoride supplements. Tablets and chewing gum that contain fluoride are to be banned in Belgium over fears that they might increase the risk of brittle bone disease, also confirmed by the Belgian Health Ministry. Here's ABC News reporting that the Food and Drug Administration, known as the FDA, considers ingestion of fluoride toothpaste to be potentially poisonous. Considering that fluoride is a byproduct of the aluminum and fertilizer manufacturing and contains heavy metals such as lead, arsenic, and chromium. Fluoride is not a high-purity pharmaceutical. Veterans Press released this disturbing article January 25th of 2002 linking low levels of fluoride in aluminum linked to Alzheimer's and kidney damage, and also reporting that the presence of low levels of fluoride in the drinking water causes damage to the tissue of the brain that authors identified as similar to the pathological changes found in humans with Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia, and also stated that numerous studies link fluoride to increased risk in hip fracture, cancer, genetic bone damage, bone pathology, and dental fluorosis. Nexus, the greatest scientific fluoride fraud yet. From the Health Action Network Society in Canada, from January-February of 2001 reports on Thursday, October 12, 6 days after almost every major world newspaper announced that the results of a scientific review reporting fluoridation of public drinking water supplies to be safe public health measure. But the UK National Health Service Centre for Reviews and Dissemination at the University of York is considered to be the final word on fluoridation, but it might well turn out to be the greatest scientific fraud ever undertaken by a century of charge of evaluating scientific information in the interest of the public health. And it was also reported that evidence was presented showing that the York Review falsified vital information in its reports and deliberately misinformed the public on fluoride's adverse health effects. Nutrition magazine reports about fluoride. Scientists say that actually swallowing this toxin offers virtually no dental advantage. According to the recognized fluoride authority, Hardy Lineback, DDS head of the preventive dentistry at the University of Toronto, and also reporting that a dozen of Nobel Prize winning scientists have long warned of a link between fluoride and serious health problems. February 5th, 1990, Newsweek magazine reports fluoride from your tap may not do much good and may cause cancer. It also states that the government researchers have new evidence that casts doubt on the benefits of fluoridation and suggests that it is not without risk. It also links fluoride to mottled teeth, skeletal damage, and genetic defects and other ills. And also, according to a memo by the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, very preliminary data from recent health studies indicate that fluoride may be a carcinogen.
Fluoride toxicity. Fluoride is a soluble salt, not a heavy metal. There are two basic types of fluoride. Calcium fluoride appears naturally in the underground water sources and even seawater. Enough of it can cause skeletal or dental fluorosis, which weakens bone and dental matter. But it is not nearly as toxic, nor does it negatively affect so many other health issues as sodium fluoride, which is added to many water supplies. Sodium fluoride is a synthetic waste product of the nuclear, aluminum, and phosphate fertilizer industries. The fluoride has an amazing capacity to combine and increase the potency of other toxic materials. The sodium fluoride obtained from industrial waste and added to water supplies is also already contaminated with lead, aluminum, and cadmium. It damages the liver and kidneys, weakens the immune system, possibly leading to cancer, creates symptoms that mimic fibromyalgia, and performs as a Trojan horse to carry aluminum across the blood-brain barrier. The latter is recognized as a source of the notary use coming down with lower IQs and Alzheimer's effects of fluoride.
Experts on fluoride, Dr. Douglas, voted Doctor of the Year by the National Health Federation, has plenty to say about fluoride.
It used to be the only approved uses were as an insecticide and rat poison. Ingesting fluoride has absolutely no bearing on preventing tooth decay. The American Dental Association is advising that parents not give fluoridated water to babies because it can cause brain damage.
A quote from Fluoride The Aging Factor on page 14, a 14-ounce tube of toothpaste, theoretically at least, contains enough fluoride to kill a small child, Procter & Gamble. Chief chemist at the National Cancer Institute, Dr. Dean Burke, when confronted with the scientific data regarding fluoride, stated before Congress, in point of fact, fluoride causes more human cancer death and causes it faster than any other chemical. Congressional Record, 21st of July, 1976. And there you have it. Statements, quotes, news clips, news articles from the experts stating the deadly effects of sodium fluoride. Let's take a look at a tube of sodium fluoride toothpaste. You turn the toothpaste over, or on the box, there's a warning label. It says, warning, keep out of the reach of children under 6 years of age. Contains fluoride. If swallowed, contact medical help or poison control. The ADA, the CDC, and the FDA will tell you a pea-sized amount of fluoridated toothpaste contains the same amount of fluoride as a glass of drinking water. The so-called experts will tell you, don't swallow more than a pea-sized amount of fluoridated toothpaste because it contains 0.25 milligrams of fluoride. However, they suggest that we drink fluoridated water in one glass which contains 0.25 milligrams of fluoride. But let's take a look at this. Why would they tell you not to swallow a pea-sized amount of fluoridated toothpaste, but it's okay to ingest a glass of fluoridated drinking water, which contains the exact same amount of fluoride? On one hand, they tell you called poison control because it's poisonous. On the other hand, they tell you it's good for you. Ask yourself, where is the common sense here? Now let's take a good look what sodium fluoride does to your teeth. Now this is the moderate effects of fluoridated water. If you notice the arrows, they point to the discolored, cracked, and pitted areas. If you want to avoid these problems, we suggest that you use non-fluoridated toothpaste and brush with non-fluoridated water. Non-fluoridated toothpaste could be found at your local stores. We highly suggest to use Tom's Toothpaste from Maine. They sell fluoridated and non-fluoridated toothpaste for kids and adults. Dr. Hardy Weinbeck, biochemist and professor of dentistry, University of Toronto, former consultant to the Canadian Dental Association.
Children under 3 should never use fluoridated toothpaste or drink fluoridated water. And baby formula must never be made up using Toronto tap water. Never. In fluoridated areas, people should never use fluoride supplements. We tried to get them banned for children, but the dentists wouldn't even look at the evidence we presented.
Professor A.K. Shushila, author of over 100 published scientific papers.
What is the matter with your scientists that they allow your government to be so stupid? October 4th, 1998, commenting on the UK government's support for fluoridation.
Posted in the Food and Water Journal of the summer of 1998, Dr. Robert Carton, Ph.D. and former Environmental Protection Agency scientist for 20 years.
The level of fluoride the government allows the public is based on scientifically fraudulent information and altered reports. People can be harmed simply by drinking water.
This also published in the Food and Water Journal in the summer of 1998, Dr. William Marcus, Ph.D., Environmental Protection Agency scientist.
Fluoride is a carcinogen by any standard we use. I believe the EPA should act immediately to protect the public, not just on the cancer data, but on the evidence of bone fractures, arthritis, mutagenicity, and other effects.
Two scientists, May 5th of 1983, Dr. Jeffrey Smith, dental surgeon.
Dental fluorosis, no matter how slight, is an irreversible pathological condition recognized by authorities around the world as the first readily detectable clinical symptom of previous chronic fluoride poisoning. To suggest we should ignore such a sign is as irrational as saying that the blue-black line which appears on the gums due to chronic lead poisoning is of no significance because it doesn't cause any pain or discomfort.
Frederick B. Ena, M.D., May 11th of 1960, when told that fluoridated water was for your own good and against your will. He quoted with this:
Resolved to its simplest terms, the issue before you is this. Suppose I as an individual want to do something to one of you for the sole purpose of helping you and you don't want it done. You are the sane adults. There is no acute emergency, no one else is involved, I have no other ulterior motive. The question then is, which one of us has the right to decide whether I should be permitted to do something to you for your own good but against your will? Do you or do I?
Journal of the American Medical Association, September 18th of 1943, editorial.
Fluorides are general protoplasmic poisons, probably because of their capacity to modify the metabolism of cells by changing the permeability of the cell membrane and by inhibiting certain enzyme systems. The exact mechanism of such actions is obscure. The sources of fluorine intoxication are drinking water containing 1 part per million or more of fluorine fluoride compounds used as insecticidal sprays for fruits and vegetables, cryolite and barium fluorosilicate, and the mining and conversion of phosphate rock to superphosphate, which is used as fertilizer.
Journal, American Dental Association, October of 1944, editorial.
We do know that the use of drinking water containing as little as 1.2 to 3.0 parts per million of fluorine will cause such developmental disturbances in bones as osteosclerosis, spondylosis and osteopetrosis, as well as goiter, and we cannot afford to fund the risk of producing such serious systemic disturbances in applying what is at present a doubtful procedure intended to prevent development of dental disfigurements.
Dr. P. Mullenix, Ph.D. research scientist, a 1997 letter to Calgary counselors.
As a toxicologist involved in fluoride research for over 10 years, I was stunned by the Calgary Regional Health Authority's glib comments proclaiming water fluoridation safe. 50 years of studies about fluoride safety do not exist. The ongoing intensive research on fluorides and fluoridation does not exist, certainly non-investigating safety.
Dr. A. Scatz, Ph.D., co-discoverer, age 23, of the first effective treatment against tuberculosis and streptomycin, the 1997 letter to Calgary counselors.
Many individuals with impeccable credentials in science, dentistry, and medicine have published incontrovertible evidence that fluoridation is harmful and does not reduce the incidence of dental caries.
Dr. Conrad Sontag, Alberta dentist, 1992.
Fluoridation amounts to mass medication to contest a disease which is neither life-threatening nor grossly debilitating. I'd rather not see any more chemicals in the water. We are trying to treat this problem of decay much like trying to kill a fly with a shotgun.
Belhava E.M., the effects of drinking water fluoridation on the fluoride content strengthen mineral density of human bone, 1980.
The highest fluoride content in bone was observed in women with severe osteoporosis.
U.S. Agency for Toxic Substance and Disease Registry of 1993.
Subsets of the population may be unusually susceptible to the toxic effect of fluoride and its compounds. These populations include the elderly, people with deficiencies of calcium, magnesium, and/or vitamin C, and people with cardiovascular and kidney problems.
Dr. P.H. Phillips, biochemist, University of Wisconsin.
Fluoride is an accumulated poison which accumulates in the skeletal structures, including the teeth. When the body is exposed to small daily intakes of this element, it is like lead accumulation in the bone until saturation occurs and then lead poisoning sets in.
Supreme Court Justice J.P. Flattery, former chairman of the Pennsylvania Academy of Sciences, in the 1979 letter to Mayor of Auckland, New Zealand.
The evidence is quite convincing that the addition of sodium fluoride to the public water supply at 1 part per million is extremely deleterious to the human body. Prior to my hearing this case, I gave the matter of fluoridation little, if any, thought, but I received quite an education and noted that the proponents of fluoridation do nothing more than try to impugn the objectivity of those who oppose fluoridation.
Dr. C.G. Hyde, former president of the American Medical Association.
I am appalled at the prospect of using water as a vehicle for drugs.
The late Dr. George L. Walbach, author of Fluoridation, The Great Dilemma.
When medical practitioners everywhere also recognize the severity of the problems of chronic fluoride toxicosis, and laws mandating truly safe drinking water are sincerely enforced, the health of millions will dramatically improve.
Carl Sagan, C. from Brock's Brain.
The character of beliefs of the scientist are irrelevant. All that matters is whether the evidence supports his contention. Arguments from authorities simply do not count. Too many authorities have been mistaken too often.
Noted in the Yearbook of Agriculture of 1939.
Fluorine interferes with the normal calcification of the teeth during the process of their formation, so that affected teeth, in addition to being usually discolored and ugly in appearance, are structurally weak and deteriorate early in life. For this reason, it is especially important that fluorine be avoided during the period of tooth formation, that is from birth to the age of 12 years.
Dyson Rose, John Marion, Environmental Fluoride 1977, and the National Research Council of Canada.
Fluoride is a persistent bioaccumulator and is entering into human food and beverage chains in increasing amounts. Careful consideration of all available data indicates that the amount of fluoride ingested daily in foods and beverages by adult humans living in fluoridated communities currently ranges between 3.5 and 5.5 milligrams. Long-term ingestion with accumulation of fluoride in animals and man induces metabolic and biochemical changes. There is no doubt that inadequate nutrition increases the severity of fluoride toxicosis, and chronic intake of fluoride increases the long-term metabolic requirement for both calcium and magnesium.
D. Eds F. Fluorine in relation to bone and tooth development. Jada, 23, 1936, page 574.
Fluorine is a general protoplasmic poison, but the most important symptoms of chronic fluorine poisoning known at present are mottling of the teeth and interference with bone formation.
Chief Dental Officer, British Ministry of Health and Social Security, December 11th of 1980.
No laboratory test has ever shown that 1 part per million fluoride in the drinking water reduces tooth decay.
Bette Hillman, Fluoridation of Water, Chemical and Engineering News, August 1st of 1988.
Although skeletal fluorosis has been studied intensely in other countries for more than 40 years, virtually no research has been done in the U.S. to determine how many people are afflicted with the earlier stages of the disease, particularly the preclinical stages. Because some of the clinical symptoms mimic arthritis, the first 2 clinical phases of skeletal fluorosis could be easily misdiagnosed. Skeletal fluorosis is not even discussed in most medical texts under the effects of fluoride. Indeed, a number of texts say the condition is almost non-existent in the U.S., even if a doctor is aware of the disease. The early stages are difficult to diagnose.
Johnston D. Current status of professionally applied topical fluoride.
Professionally applied topical fluoride procedure should not be provided on a routine basis, but should be limited, particularly in Canada, where caries incidence is relatively lower, to high caries risk groups served by dental public health programs and high-risk patients in private dental practice. For those selected for these procedures, the maximum benefits must be assured at the least biological and financial costs.
Let's recap what we have learned and discover true facts about sodium fluoride, the toxic chemical waste.
Mass medication without consent. Vital to creating nuclear weapons. Nazis, Soviets, U.S. prisons used it to sterilize and make people subservient. Cancer-causing, cancer-promoting. Primary ingredient in anesthetic, hypnotic, and psychiatric drugs like Prozac, rat cockroach poison, and military DOD sarin nerve gas. Causes dental caries decay. Study proves it reduced IQ in children. Hydrochloric acid is safer than fluoride. Caused the first U.S. environmental disaster and started the environmental movement. Creates weak and brittle bones. Deadly toxic to touch or inhale. Gaseox form strips flesh from bone on contact. DOD and Edward Bernays forced it into our water supply by falsifying Manhattan Project data, fearing lawsuits and of nuclear projects. Decimated New Jersey's agriculture farming, killing off the former Garden State. Regenerative and shortens our lifespan. Banned in most European nations. RedactedNews.com.
Harvard studies now, we talked about this in the past, how Harvard studies have proved that sodium fluoride, that's a fluoride in your drinking water and in your toothpaste, reduces IQ, especially with children. And ADA also confirmed that the dangers of fluoride water is bad for babies. This is all on record now. And you go to the CDC's website, they admit it, but it's still safe for you. Even though they admit the stuff is deadly, it's still safe for you. And now you got a new Harvard study now saying that fluoride can increase autism and ADD, known as attention deficit disorder. This is from the Washington blog. We reported last month that the Harvard study found that fluoride can lower children's IQ by 7 points, which is actually more than that. It's up to 15 to 20 points. And that the numerous government reports have shown that fluoride can injure the brain and neurological systems. And we talked about this before. Fluoride also causes fluorosis. It causes just eats your brain, basically, if you want to say it that way. It targets the bones because it builds up in the bones. No other mineral but fluoride builds up in the bones that much. And they say, it's all 1 parts per million, but it stores in the bones, okay? It attacks the neurological senses in your brains. And you got tons of people, especially Harvard University is now coming out to say fluoride is bad for you. Don't give it to your kids. The ADA had no choice to come out to say the same thing. Well, you need to read up more about this. Fluoride is deadly, folks. And back in grandfather's days, they used to use fluoride for rat poison. And it's all come out. It's on record now. I mean, it was part of the 1930s eugenics movement. Hitler and Stalin used to use high doses of fluoride in the drinking water to dumb the Jews down. And this is all part of the Agenda 21, which is today's eugenics. It's disgusting. It's all part of the biodiversity movements and everything else. And we're going to get into that. Anybody who knows the Bible knows that, yes, Israel is God's time clock. And we got a guest on the phone. We're going to talk about that next week. But Infowars.com reporter and producer, good friend of mine, Jon Bowne. How you doing, sir?
Hey, live. Am I there?
Yep, you're there, brother. How you doing?
All right. Good. How are you doing up there in Rhode Island?
Cold. Missed the Texas weather.
Yeah, it was a very nice day today, but it's going to rain tomorrow. But, yeah, I know it's pretty cold up there. Where it all came from, why there's been fluoride in the water for 69 years, where our space program came from, where the divide and conquer scheme of the Democratic Party comes from, where it all comes from. Operation Paperclip. They bring the Nazi geniuses over here and give them all jobs and all of our money, all our taxpayer dollars, and they just continue to do their eugenics programs here. And they've been doing them ever since. And it's been a soft kill ever since because the hard kill was too much. That's what World War II was. That's what happened in the Holocaust. They've been doing a soft kill to us. And the sad part is you start to find out about these things. You find out, you realize that fluoride and how harmful fluoride truly is to your...
Well, look at the newest article. Harvard says now, we know about the IQ reduction, but they're saying now it's a cause of autism and ADD.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and bone cancer, too. And, and the thing is, before they started taking the hydrofluorosilicic acid from the phosphate factories and basically watering it down as the gases rose, you can go and research that on your own, but the hydrofluorosilicic acid is a poison that they put into a canister, and then they ship it off, and back in the Carnegie Mellon Institute, back in the 40s, designated that we could have 1 parts per million in our drinking supply. How about no parts per million of poison in our drinking supply? How's that sound? Why do we got to bow down to to those industries? But on the other hand, we get back to the Nazi problem. That's what they did to the water, people. That's what they did, and that's what Stalin did. That's what Adolf Hitler did. They put fluoride in the water, and they've been doing that to us for 69 years. And people go, oh well, you know, I'm fine. Are you? Because the nephew of Albert Einstein said, and he was a chemist, the famous chemist, Bronner. He said that not only is it treason that they're putting this in the water, but anybody that drinks fluoride for a year of their life will never be the same person again. They've robbed every single American in this country, and it's bad here. In Europe, they don't put it in the water. Most of Western Europe, they don't put it in the water. But in the U.S., we're like stupid, idiotic guinea pigs, and they've just been putting it in our water for 69 years. I'm not the person I was supposed to be. You're not the person you were supposed to be. The people listening to this aren't the people they were supposed to be. We've been robbed. We've been robbed of our thyroid and the way it's supposed to work, of our pineal gland, our third eye. We've been robbed of our humanity for 69 years in this country. I didn't even have a chance. It was well in the water before I was born.
Same here. I mean, like, and you can see all the stats. I mean, look at the staggering rates. I mean, now you're in the toothpaste and everything else, and the decline. Look, the education system. Every year, America's dropping and dropping on IQs on the education system. Just a complete dumbing down of society, man. I mean, like.
Well, and then you know that also brings me back to.
Now let's move on to fluoride, which is the reason for this lovely display here. This is out of Mail Online. Chemical used by Colgate Total toothpaste to fight off gum disease is linked to cancer. And a chemical that has been linked to cancer cell growth is being used by millions of Americans in toothpaste every day, it has emerged. The company behind Colgate Total insists that triclosan, which is to stave off gum disease, is safe because the toothpaste was approved in 1997 by the Food and Drug Administration. But toxicology documents used by the FDA to approve toothpaste were only released early this year after a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit. And revealed the agency relied upon company-backed science to reach its conclusion. And that was out of Bloomberg News. Well, I got news for you, and I'm about to prove it to you. Every one but two of these toothpaste on here is filled with poison, and it's not this triclosan. It is fluoride, which is now right behind me. And in fact, that's just a giant blow-up of what you find on the back of every fluoridated toothpaste. In fact, we're going to start with the Colgate Total. Here it is, whitening paste. So we look at the back. You can see the active ingredients. There, active ingredients. Sodium fluoride, 0.24% anti-cavity. It also has triclosan, 0.30%. So there's the other cancer-causing chemical. But look at the warning. Warning, keep out of reach of children under 6 years of age. If more than used for brushing is accidentally swallowed, get medical help or contact poison control right away. Now, why would they do that? Why would they put a warning there in toothpaste if it's, you know, it's supposed to be good for you? Well, let's check out another one. Here's Sensodyne. It's another toothpaste, toothpaste for sensitive teeth and cavity protection. Once again, they have stannous fluoride right there. And let's see, warning, if irritation, discontinue use, okay, blah, blah, blah. Keep out of reach of children. If more than used for brushing is accidentally swallowed, get medical help or contact poison control right away. There it is, right there. Another fluoridated toothpaste with a warning about swallowing it. Aquafresh. Fluoride toothpaste, extreme clean with microactive foaming action. Whoa, all right. Active ingredient, sodium fluoride. There it is. And once again, use a pea-sized amount. And active ingredients, keep out of reach children under 6 years of age. If you accidentally swallow more than is used for brushing, get medical help or contact poison control right away. Do you see a pattern emerging? Do you see the fact that, well, technically you're brushing your teeth with poison because they're saying if you swallow it, contact poison control. You're not supposed to put this fluoridated toothpaste in your body. Now, let's move to one more. This is Crest Complete. Crest Complete with Scope Dual Blast. Boy, they just really shine this stuff up. This has got it over here. Sodium fluoride active ingredient. Warning, keep out of reach of children under 6 years of age. If more than is used for brushing is accidentally swallowed, get medical help or contact Poison Control Center immediately. They have the uniformity of the warning. It's everywhere, okay? Now let's look at, here's a toothpaste called Tom's of Maine. Here we see the ingredients, no fluoride, no sodium fluoride, no hexafluorosilicate, nothing like that. And there's nothing about not swallowing it. Doesn't seem to matter if you swallow the fluoride-free toothpaste. That doesn't seem to matter. Now let's look at some children's toothpaste. Here's Kids Crest with cavity protection, and it's got Sparkle Fun. Sparkle Fun right there. It's got Sparkle Fun just for you. Fluoride anti-cavity toothpaste. All right, just for you kids. There you go. Oh, it's got a little sodium fluoride in there and really good for you. Warning, keep out of reach children under 6 years of age. But wait, this is for my kids. Oh. If more than used for brushing is accidentally swallowed, get medical help or contact Poison Control right away. Do not swallow. Do not swallow. It says it right there. Do not swallow. Has fluoride in it. Do not swallow it. Now, last toothpaste here. This is Colgate My First, fluoride free. And on the front it says, safe if swallowed. Wow. Isn't that amazing? Huh. So it says nothing about if you swallow this, contact Poison Control. So what are we looking at? Obviously, it seems to be that fluoride is the one common denominator which will make you call Poison Control if you happen to swallow it. And I know you might not still believe me. That's fine. I'd like to turn your attention to an article that I wrote back in 2010. At one time, I did write a couple articles for Infowars.com, and then I got more into the TV section. But this is from July 28, 2010. This was kind of my answer back to a WorldNet Daily writer who was laughing at people who were concerned about fluoride. WorldNet Daily writer says fluoride is good for you. An open letter to Phil Elmore, who was the writer of this article. And it basically goes through the history of why they started fluoridating, different incidents that happened, one of which was a tanker truck full of fluorosilicic acid, which is what they put in our water. A tanker spilled over on the interstate in Florida, and they had to close down the interstate, and people were getting sick. Crazy stuff. I have some tables in there about the parts per million that they're adding to that they recommend to add to schools and communities for water. But if you keep going down underneath that that secondary maximum containment level, which talks about what fluoride can do to you, and the only bad thing they say about fluoride is that you get tooth discoloration. Well, here we go. Dr. William L. Marcus, Senior Science Advisor of the EPA's Office of Drinking Water, was fired in response to a 1990 whistleblowing memo calling for a review of the cover-up of the National Toxicology Program study that demonstrated fluoride as a probable human carcinogen. And here it is from that memo. The type of cancer of particular concern with fluoride, although not the only type, is osteosarcoma, especially in males. The National Toxicology Program conducted a 2-year study in which rats and mice were given sodium fluoride in their drinking water. The positive result of that study, in which malignancies in tissues and other bones were observed, particularly in male rats, is conversion with host data showing that fluoride's ability to cause mutations and inducing cells to become cancerous. So there you go. There's another cancer-causing chemical in your toothpaste, not just the one in Colgate Total, which is the triclosan. It is sodium fluoride. Yet, why do they continue to put it in our drinking water? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Even in 2014, back in February, a Harvard study came out. Fluoride lowers children's IQ intelligence by 7 IQ points. This was published out of Washington's blog, and you can read about the study there and the different effects of it. And just so you don't think I'm a crazy tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist, here is the actual Harvard study. Right here, impact of fluoride on neurological development in children. And if you read through, it talks about how they studied kids in China where there was hard and heavy fluoridation, and they found an average of 7 IQ points drop in children in that area who were drinking fluoridated water. So you have to ask yourself, why do we fluoridate our water? We fluoridate our water here in Austin, Texas. You know how much they put in? They put in 9 gallons an hour of this hydrofluorosilicic acid poison into our water. In fact, we're going to roll a little bit of footage here that was shot of a water treatment facility here in Austin, Texas that shows the fluoride tanks. And on those tanks, it lists the MSDS, which you can see right there, is a 4. That is the worst level of human reactivity. It can cause death. It can cause sickness. just in minute concentrations, yet they tell you they want to put it into your water for your teeth, yet every toothpaste label says don't swallow it. Do you see the illogical going on? I see the illogical. It's right there in front of me. They tell you not to swallow the toothpaste, yet it's okay to put it in your water to drink it.
Just for your information, it is a criminal offense to disrupt a public meeting. If you persist in that kind of behavior, you can potentially be charged with that. I wanted to let you know that. And we're going with our discussion. There's a motion on the table. I want to say, following Councilmember Spellman's, we have listened to evidence on this subject for several years. Several years. 5, I'll accept 5. We have gone to the trouble to send this item to a council committee and receive testimony from our health department here at the city. We've heard from other experts. I even asked my dentist, and his answer was unequivocal. Yes, fluoride in the water at safe levels is something that we should continue to do. So I've heard no scientific evidence to the contrary. I'll support the motion.
Once again, City Council had no qualms about issuing another 4-year round of toxic chemicals into the Austin, Texas water supply.
Hydrofluorosilicic acid has shown to have those symptoms, arthritis. I'm 23 years old. I shouldn't have signs of arthritis.
It's corrosive to the skin, eyes, and mucous membranes through direct contact, inhalation, or ingestion.
Dr. Philip Grandjean at the Harvard School of Public Health and Dr. Philip Landergren, a pediatrician at the Mount Sinai Medical School in New York City, commented, "The developing human brain is uniquely vulnerable to toxic chemical exposures, and major windows of developmental vulnerability occur in utero and during infancy and early childhood. The fetus is not well protected against industrial chemicals. The placenta does not block the passage of environmental toxicants from the maternal to the fetal circulation, and more than 200 foreign chemicals have been detected in umbilical cord blood." They conclude disorders of neurobehavioral development affect 10 to 15% of all births, and prevalence of autism spectrum disorder and attention deficit disorder seem to be increasing worldwide.
We're telling you the truth. It's not like those facts are made up. It's like this is a toxic chemical. It's not necessary in our water, and we're spending $2 million on this.
Having fluoride in the water, all the research I've done, it's not good for us.
Regardless of those voices that were cut in half by Mayor Lee Leffingwell in violation of Articles 2527 and 2529 of the Austin City Code,
it's within our authority to limit testimony to any amount that we would choose, so I'll entertain a suggestion.
A unanimous vote awarded Florida-based Mosaic LLC up to $2,290,900 of taxpayer dollars to essentially poison themselves.
Poison control?
Yeah, I need to speak to somebody about fluoride. Should I be concerned about my child or myself swallowing this?
If they get more than a mouthful, I would want you to call us. Otherwise, normally we just recommend have chew up some Tums or drink a glass of milk, because that helps bind up the fluoride.
Okay. Well, I also read that the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, allows this amount in a single glass of drinking water. If my kid drinks more than 1 glass of water per day, should I call you?
I wouldn't expect so, no. I was going to say I'm not sure.
Doesn't that make sense, though?
Yeah, I understand. Your logic is perfectly, it makes complete sense to me.
The council members are not ignorant of the consequences of water fluoridation. Back in 2011, fluoridation expert Dr. Paul Connett and dentist Dr. E. Griffin Cole presented fact after indisputable fact to the council.
They cited a review in 1993, and as you've already seen, their proposal that fluoridation was coming, tooth decay was coming down in the United States because the percentage of the population drinking fluoridated water was going up, was either totally incompetent, meaning they weren't aware of the World Health Organization data, which showed that these declines were going on in nearly every country, whether it was fluoridated or not.
But in the end, The love affair with the aluminum and phosphate mining industries won the day. Since 1945, 69 years later, fluoride, a topical medication, continues to be ingested by the majority of the United States of America.
And to educate yourself and your family, please visit prisonplanet.tv or InfoWarsStore.com.
For more than 60 years, the federal government in the United States, as well as many other governments across the planet, have carried out an elaborate hoax designed to convince the public that fluoride is added to most water supplies to improve oral hygiene. This report will examine the facts. Hundreds of chemicals are added to municipal water supplies, all under the name fluoride. Sodium fluoride and its variants are the chemical byproducts of aluminum fertilizer, cement, steel, and nuclear weapons manufacturing. Children who ingest fluoride will actually get a form of tooth decay called dental fluorosis, dark brown stains, and tooth decay. The American Dental Association recently put out a nationwide alert. In the memo, they warned parents not to make baby formula using fluoridated water. Fluoride is the active ingredient in many pesticides, like rat poison. Fluoride has been proven to cause brain damage, reduced IQ, impairs memory and learning. It has been conclusively shown to cause damage in the kidneys. It has been directly linked to bone disease, bone cancer, reduced thyroid activity, and it has also been proven that it's linked to other cancers. Unfortunately, this is only the beginning of the list of medical issues directly related to the ingestion of fluoride. After years of attempting to get the city of Austin to allow our crew in to show the deadly poison-filled fluoride tanks, we were finally allowed to. But the tour guide at the water treatment plant told us that it was their policy that we not shoot video. Well, it's our policy to show the people of Central Texas and the world who are being forcibly fluoridated to see the truth. It is our policy to resist tyranny. So here's the footage.
Okay, that's what it is. Storage tanks are in that building. So there's tank 2 and tank 1. And then this is a discharge line, like a return line for him to... Well, you know, we have things in containment.
The tour guide even jokingly pointed out the fact that the fluoride acid would eat holes in the concrete and paint.
See this corrosion here? This is not corroding just from the air. This is from acid vapors in here, okay? So they've had to go in and it looks like replace this, okay? They had to take it out, it looks like.
Here you can see the pipes where they lovingly pump the carcinogenic, brain-eating chemical weapon into you and your children's water supply. This type of fluoride-based acid has the CDC's highest danger rating of number 4. Again, it is in the most dangerous class of chemicals with an MSDS health rating of 4. Life-threatening, major or permanent damage may result from a single or repeated exposure. Organ failure, cancer, the list goes on and on, all purposely pumped into your water supply. If sodium fluoride and its other variants are so dangerous, then why are more than 70% of U.S. cities forcing it on their citizens as a form of forced medication? Eugenics is the long-standing plan of population control and domination being quietly carried out by those who are determined to bring about a one-world government and a new world order. Fluoride was used by the Nazis to poison the water in the concentration camps and slave labor camps. The Nazis knew that the brain-damaging effects of fluoride would enable them to control the populations with more ease. Today, fluoride is being forced upon Americans in more than 70% of the country. This is not law, it is a federal mandate. Because the population is becoming aware and medical doctors are speaking out, the feds are now lobbying states like Arkansas to pass laws commanding local governments to add high levels of sodium fluoride to their water supplies. As Americans are becoming more educated about the issue, many activists are standing up to water fluoridation and laying the groundwork for taking it out of their water supply. Dr. Paul Conant is the executive director of the Fluoride Action Network. Thanks to Dr. Conant's efforts, the Calgary City Council voted 10-3 to remove toxic substances from their public drinking water.
A few days ago, it was finalized that Calgary in Alberta, that's 1.1 million people, are now going to be fluoride-free.
Now many other cities in the U.S. and across the world are following suit. And that's why the establishment is striking back. Tim Cameron of Mount Clemens City, Michigan, proposed to his city council to have all fluoride removed from the tap water and won with a 6-0 vote.
Request Commission approval of a resolution rescinding the addition of fluoride at the City of Mount Clemens water filtration plant. I need a motion, please.
Motion to approve a resolution rescinding the addition of fluoride at the City of Mount Clemens water filtration plant.
Second. Roll call, please.
Campbell?
Yes.
Drager?
Yes.
Gager?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Johns?
Yes.
Flesh?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
That's what one man did by simply presenting the scientific facts to his council. State Representative Dr. Joe Hensley of Tennessee sent letters to every district in his state urging them to stop adding fluoride to the drinking water and has had very successful results. In future reports, we will document the fact that under the name fluoride, upwards of 300+ chemicals are legally added to your water supply. Americans are forced to drink a literal toxic waste stew that is left over from different industries who would have to pay to store the toxic waste. Instead, our cities, in some cases, pay millions of dollars a year for the poison. The good news is people all over the world, not just the United States, are waking up. Right here in Austin, we're seeing more and more restaurants advertising that they have fluoride-free, healthy, clean, filtered water.
The globalists, since the early 1900s, have sought out to mass sterilize and depopulate the world through eugenics. The British Royal Crown adopted the Jacobins depopulation program from the post-French Revolution that was given the guise name of eugenics. The British Crown passed the torch of eugenics to Adolf Hitler and the German Nazi scientists using forced medication of sodium fluoridation in the drinking water and vaccinating the Jewish people to sterilize, dumb down, and destroy the so-called inferior race. Years later, this eugenics study that originated from the Jacobins depopulation program was brought here to America through Operation Paperclip, where the United States government recruited all the Nazi scientists and SS officers and slowly evolved into what is called today Agenda 21, where the United Nations openly declares that the world is overpopulated using fraudulent scientific data and propaganda that man causes global warming, and to stop global warming, they will use the World Health Organization to push poisonous vaccinations, funding Planned Parenthood to promote abortions, while pushing a one-child policy that China has adopted, and our President Barack Obama has stated that he would sign it into law under a world treaty. Also, by genetically modifying our foods, polluting the air we breathe through chemical trails sprayed in the air, also known as chemtrails, and putting sodium fluoride in most of the municipal drinking water, claiming that fluoride is good and safe for you, while the globalists try to squeeze the world's finances through cap and trade and carbon taxes, making you pay for the air that you breathe while using a carbon credit system. The globalists even influence planet activists by telling them it is okay to kill yourself in the name of Mother Earth, also targeting animal rights activists, lying to them that the CO2 that we exhale out of our mouths causes the polar caps to melt, resulting in polar bears and penguins drowning because they can't swim, when anyone who has been to a zoo can simply witness that penguins and polar bears do swim to catch fish for their food and survival. Once again, from the Jacobins depopulation program to eugenics to now Agenda 21, 3 different names, same agenda: to dumb down and exterminate 90% of the world's population, as stated on the Georgia Guidestones, also known as the New World Order's 10 Commandments, as also openly stated by Bill Gates at the 2010 TED Conference. You may ask, why in the world would they want to kill 90% of the world's population? The globalists know that the world is not overpopulated. They know that global warming is a hoax, but they use the propaganda to bring in a so-called perfect utopia known as a New World Order and not share it with the masses. They vision a perfect world of a one-world government, religion, and economy with perfect people, with the population to never exceed no more than 500 million people as stated on their New World Order's 10 Commandments. The world's elite will stop at nothing to accomplish the hellish Luciferian goal of a New World Order, dating back from the early days of Babylon when they declared one world, one voice. This slogan also happens to be the slogan of the European Union and their dreams of a global one world government. It is not a coincidence that our current and last several presidents of the United States, the current and last two popes, and world leaders alike have all openly called for a new world order. Unless the masses wake up and start taking action against forced medicating through vaccinations, GMO foods, geoengineering, and fluoridation of our drinking water, the human being will not be of a free state, but of a slave, drugged up, dumbed down, controlled and ruled by the elite of the tyrannical United Nations. Remember, you are the resistance. It is time to take back humanity before it is exterminated. Stop and ask yourself, what can I do to save liberty, freedom, and the human race? Resistance to tyrants is obedience to God. Resistance is victory.
Here, and I want to talk to you for a second about water. You know about ProPure, our flagship water purification system, but check out some of our portable water filter products at InfoWarsStore.com. The clearly filtered water pitcher. Also, for those of you on the go, we have the Athlete Edition filtered water bottle and the RAD Eliminator Pro filtered sports bottle that removes radiation. And keep in mind, we have replacement filters for all of these products. The ever-popular grab-and-go bag favorite, the Life Straw, the Crystal Quest shower filter system, and the Aquapod kit, great for mass storage of water. And while you're at the InfoWars shop, pick up a copy of our latest book, 31 Days to Survival. You can find all this and more at the InfoWarsStore.com, and don't forget, it's your support that funds our operation. Sign up for our free newsletter at InfoWars.com/newsletter.